Like, we have to always be extraordinary. But somehow we're always doing it wrong. Like, you have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women, because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood, but always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged, so find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard, it's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault.
So this summer, thousands and thousands of people flocked to see the Barbie movie. And I think there's a reason that clip went viral, because when we watch that, like, we feel it as women, don't we? We feel the pressure of society. We feel the pressure of our families and our partners. We feel the pressure from ourselves. I mean, the truth is we feel this. I was talking to my sister, Carrie, on the phone the other day, and in the last 2 years, she and her husband have opened up their own functional medicine practice. You see, during COVID was hard for all people in the medical industry. My brother-in-law, he's a physician. And so they decided to go ahead and leave like corporate medical and then open up their own functional medicine practice. So now, basically, they're small business owners. They're small business owners that have 3 small kids. They leveraged everything that they have in order to be able to start and open this practice. And so it has a lot at stake in it. So I was talking to Carrie, and she said to me, she said, Ange, it's just too much. It's so much. So we wake up early, and then we get the kids ready, and then off to school, and then we go to the practice, and we hustle, seeing patients in the practice all day. She goes, and then I leave early so I can get the kids after school and then take them to all of their activities, baseball, football, dance, all those things, while Brad closes up the practice in the evening. She goes, we get home, we have dinner, we tuck everybody to bed, but then we stay up late because we got to work on all the paperwork for the practice. So the next morning, I'm up at 4 o'clock doing laundry, doing dishes, and we repeat that cycle all over again. She said to me, she said, Ange, it's just too much. It's too much. There's just no space to breathe. Now, I'll be the first confession. In the past 3 weeks, I've had 3 major events in my family. My third child, my Sawyer, got his driver's license. And then the very next weekend, he was confirmed. He had his confirmation. But then the weekend after that, my oldest son, Chase, he married his beautiful bride, Gabby. Now, these things in my life, these are all really good things. They're all good things. They're people that I love and I care for. They're things that I celebrated and enjoyed. But if I'm really honest, it was bonkers. It was a lot to put on my shoulders in the last couple of weeks. And it's not just these events, but it's the mental load of all these events that we, as women, particularly and uniquely in our society, we carry. We carry it because the expectations are just too high. I think this is why we like that rant from the Barbie movie so much. For most of us women, our brains are on overload. We start thinking like, okay, did the presents get bought or the food? Or wait a second, Aunt Caroline has a soy allergy, so is what we're serving fully soy-free, or do I need to go get some extra ingredients? I need to make sure that that shirt got ironed. And oh my gosh, Skylar drew out of her dress shoes. So she needs new dress shoes. Can I get them at Target? No, they don't have everything at Target. Can I get them at Walmart? No, I need to order them on Amazon so they can get here. Can they get shipped on time? Start thinking, all right, I have the grocery list, the invitations. Did I remember to invite my mother-in-law? I'll get the house all clean. All of these things running through our head in like this endless litany of expectation that all kind of runs together in some messy conglomeration. And here's the thing. I know that your brains are doing this too. Too many good things, too many things taking up space in our minds and in our bodies that actually eventually lead us to have no room to breathe. Now, recently, the CDC published a study saying that there has been a rise in attention deficit disorder, not in kids and in teens, but in, get this, 40-year-old adult women, particularly for two different reasons. One is because they were ignored for having ADD when they were growing up, but also it's because the pressures of modern womanhood is just absolutely too much. Eve Radesky, in her book, Fair Play, she writes this: 78% of moms say that they're so busy maintaining family stability by being constantly available mentally and physically to deal with every detail of home life that they aren't taking care of themselves. You see all of this societal expectation and mental load. We're always being told that there's something more that we need to do, something more in our minds, something more in our hearts, something more in our bodies, and it's no wonder. It's no wonder that we're tired. And even if we try and delegate some and we try and pass some more of this along to others, even the reminding others to do those things, let's be honest, that's also a lot of work. Now I'm going to brag on my husband for just a second. My husband of 20 years, he said the most attractive thing, the hottest thing that he has ever said to me in the entirety of our marriage. He was standing in the kitchen and I walked in and he's standing there and he looks at me and he says, "Hey, honey, Skylar broke one of her front brackets on her braces." And I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "But don't worry, I've made an appointment." I mean, right? And then he said, "And I'm going to take her." I mean, is there anything more attractive than that? If you ask any woman these days how she's doing, she's going to say busy. And it doesn't seem to matter if she's got little kids or she's single or if she's working or if she's retired, if she's chauffeuring teenagers or toddlers around, or if she's trying to get through medical appointments for her partner. Today's life and day and age is busy. And it seems to require more of us. It seems to require us to work harder, but with less resources, with less support, and more mental load and expectation on our shoulders than ever before in human history. And so it's no wonder that we're left feeling anxious, stressed, and insufficient. It's no wonder that we're exhausted just trying to get through a day. Even too many good things is too many things. Author Rob Bell tells this great story about how he was walking on the beach with his wife and their little son. And the son was so excited that he went and picked up all these seashells and was putting them in his pockets. And after he filled his swim trunks with his pockets full of seashells, he started gathering them in his hands, just as many as he could put. And then all of a sudden, Rob, he saw this starfish starting to wash up onto the shore. And he says, "Oh my gosh, go get the starfish, go get the starfish." But the little boy turns around and he's crying. He says, "I can't." I said, "Well, why not?" He says, "'Cause what about my shells?" And I think that this is true for us too. I have a friend who's retired, whose calendar is full of too many good things. She can't even fit it all in. But sometimes when there's too many good things in our hands, there's something great out there that we can't go get because we have too many things in our hands and our pockets already. And ladies, let's be honest. I mean, we're not idiots. We recognize that this is true about our lives because we feel it. And we keep trying to fix it on our own. It was a few years back, and I was at a women's conference, similar to our women's brunch here at Calvary. And the conference, it was entitled "A Miracle in the Mess." And so I was super excited to go attend that. And the keynote speaker, she got up to speak, and I was really impressed with her journey. She told us about her faith journey. But then she looked at all these hundreds of women from all kinds of age demographics gathered there. Women who had left their jobs to go be at this place, or women who had gotten babysitters for their children or babysitters for their partners, hours so that they could take a morning just to themselves. And she looked there at this whole group and she was saying, let me tell you how you can get closer to God. How many of you want to get closer to God? And then, of course, all the women, their hands shot up. We all want to become closer to God. And then she said, well, in order to get closer to God, you have to do these things. So then I watched as all the women gathered at this conference. They reached down into their purses and they took out their little notebook and they started to dutifully write down her list of things that they needed to do in order to get closer to God. Things like read Psalms at 5 a.m, write it down, or make sure you take a prayer walk in the middle of the day so you can pray for your neighbors, and they wrote it down, or make sure you keep little bags of food in your car so if you ever run against a homeless person that you have something to provide them, they're writing them down. And as I'm watching these women write down these list of things that they needed to do in order to get closer to God, I watched their shoulders slump at the idea of just adding one more thing to their plate, just one more thing. You see, I think we're trying to solve the problem with margin. We're going to try to solve our problem with breathing room and space in our lives. We're trying to solve the problem with the wrong solution. And then if we're really honest, I think it actually has a lot to do with our faith. It might even be a reflection of our faith. Because we live in this meritocracy culture that has convinced us that if we want anything to work out at all in our lives, if we want any kind of accomplishment, success, or achievement, then we have to hustle and earn and strive to go get it. Get this, the self-help book industry has tripled in the past 10 years, along with the rise of life coaches and professional coaches and all of these things. And I know that this is true because I have bought all of those self-help books. They are sitting on a stack right on my bedside table. In the past 10 years, we've seen this dramatic increase because we're all looking for more ways for us to get more done with the limited time that we actually have. I think we're trying to solve a problem in our existence, in our culture, with the wrong solution. But the truth is that we do need breathing room. We need margin. We need space. And we know it. I don't think that God sent God's Son into the world so that we would have to go do more. In fact, Jesus kind of boldly said, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I think when Jesus said that, I think he meant it. But the truth is that it's countercultural. So then what's behind all of this overscheduling? What's behind all of this overcommitment and overstretching ourselves? If we're really honest, it's about fear, isn't it? Author Sandra Stanley suggests that there are 4 fears around why we don't get the breathing room that we need in our lives. The first fear that she mentions is the fear of missing out. We get FOMO. We want to meet up for that girls' night, or we're afraid if we don't make that hockey parent planning meeting that we're going to miss something, or if we don't show up for Kiwanis on a night, that we're going to miss out on something. We're going to miss out on some information that maybe we need to know, or some inside joke, or something that must be out there. So we have this fear of missing out. The second fear she suggests is the fear of not mattering. You see, all of us, we want our lives to have meaning and significance. And if we're not performing or proving our worth, then maybe we don't have purpose. And so we overcommit in order to quench the fear of not mattering. The third fear is the fear of falling behind. We play the comparison game. We're afraid that we're not going to measure up. We look at that coworker and we want to get in before them, just show that we are dedicated and loyal and that we deserve the promotion over them. Or we look at our friends' kids and we fear that if we don't sign our kids up for piano lessons at age 2 or hockey at 6 months, then they're going to fall behind and not be on the curve with the other kids. Or we look at them playing on their boat all summer and we think that we want to get a boat, but then we find ourselves just working to pay for it and never actually spending any time on it. And the fourth fear. The fourth one is this one, the fear of disappointing others. And that one speaks to me. We don't want to let others down. So instead, we just exhaust ourselves trying to take care of what they need instead of taking space for ourselves. So then what's the solution? How do we find breathing room? Oh, my friends, this is the good news. This is the good news, because this is the whole point of Jesus. This is the whole point of God sending Jesus into this world. It was to free you from having to do too much, to free you from the pressure and to hustle for all of it, to let those things go and then just rest in the love of your Savior. My friends, 365 times in the Bible, you can read the words, do not fear. 365 times. Now, I don't think that that's a coincidence. That 365 times God writes the words to remind you that God has got you. 365 times God promises that God is going to take care of that thing, that God's going to work out that worry, that God's going to have your back through all of it. 365 times you're reminded that you're not alone, that the burden isn't just yours to carry, that the God of the universe is going to carry that burden with you. 365 times we hear that God is kind to us. God looks at you and says, oh, my beloved, I've got you. I've got you in this, and I always will. Trust me. Trust me that I'm enough. Do not fear. I think we can have breathing room because God has got us in all of it. You see, there isn't a millisecond that God isn't there with you in this life, and God isn't working hard to love you and release you from all of those burdens, to give you the space to breathe. The psalmist puts it like this: where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my beds in the depths, you are there. I'm going to keep going. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. So my friends, do not fear. God's got you. So breathe. Breathe and feel it in right here, wherever you're watching this today. Breathe. You've got nothing to fear. You've got nothing to earn. You've got nothing to prove, because the God of the universe, the good, good God of the universe, has already chosen you, has already claimed you as God's own, has already said you're enough and you're safe and you're seen and you're wanted and you're good and loved. So God just wants you to breathe and take it in, because that's the truth of who you are. Amen.